What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Friday, June 21st, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 15:03 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Europe and Asia and the Middle East. But before I get into that, I want to show you what we have going on over the United States. So, this afternoon, U.S. nuclear forces are still on high alert. We currently have two B 52 nuclear bombers airborne. We have one looping over southern Louisiana here, just north of Lake Charles. We have one flying over Oklahoma. And what's interesting about this one is that for a short while it flew very high, up to 44,000 feet in altitude, which is very unusual for one of these planes. We also have a nuclear war command and control plane that was in the Gulf of Mexico, and we have had an increase in the number of nuclear attack options being broadcasted this afternoon. We had some very unusual broadcasts from some highly sensitive locations related to our nuclear forces. We had one broadcast from Ascension Island in the middle of the Atlantic. We had a broadcast from Minot, which is where we have one of our nuclear silo fields. And then we also had a broadcast from Stratcom. Now, last night, while I was live streaming, we had a global broadcast to nuclear forces, specifically to nuclear bombers from the U.S. military, and it was a data broadcast. Okay, it went out to all of our nuclear bombers and nuclear forces, but it was specifically going out to our bombers. And what's interesting is that the Russian buzzer, which is the Russian nuclear war frequency, and actually all of Russia's nuclear war frequencies are currently just silent, okay, which means that they are ready to transmit. Normally, the buzzer has this buzzing noise every second or so. That's why it's called the Russian buzzer. Well, that buzz is absent now. So, this could mean that Russia is getting ready to launch nukes. And what you're looking at here are two aerial refuelers that took off from Anchorage, Alaska, and they went west directly towards Russia, and they turned their transponder off before reaching the Bering Sea. We also had an AWACS plane take off from Anchorage and head southeast, and it turned its transponder off as well. So something's brewing over here in Alaska. And here we have Forte 15, a U.S. reconnaissance drone flying in the Black Sea, and you can see it's looping here opposite of Sevastopol. So I do expect a Ukrainian strike on Sevastopol sometime this evening or tonight, potentially a missile strike or a drone strike. It's feeding information to the Ukrainians about something in this area near Sevastopol. And earlier today, we had two P-8 Poseidon sub hunters take off from Jacksonville, and they went east out into the Atlantic. So there must be Russian warships out there. Here's a closer look at some more P-8 Poseidons that went to this area last night, late last night. Okay, so two this afternoon going to this area, and then two last night. So there must be some Russian warships off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina and northern Florida. We had some Russian doomsday planes go out to Siberia late last night, and want to just summarize some of the main headlines from the last couple of days because we had some major headlines, okay? Putin stated that he would revise Russia's nuclear war doctrine and lower the threshold at which he can use nuclear weapons as a response to the West's actions in Ukraine by allowing Ukraine to strike inside Russian territory with NATO weapons. He said this in Vietnam yesterday. And John Kirby, the U.S. National Security Advisor, recently said in an interview that Ukraine can use American weapons anywhere inside of Russia to prevent cross-border attacks. And a Russian military surveillance balloon drifted into northern Poland from Kaliningrad yesterday, supposedly by accident. The Polish military claimed that the Russians told them in advance that the balloon was going to fly into northern Poland because it accidentally broke off its tether. Not sure I believe that. And the Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier arrived in Guam for the first time in 2 years, along with several B 2 stealth bombers, which arrived in Guam for the first time in 5 years. Okay, so you see the buildup. We're sending an aircraft carrier to Guam and stealth bombers, and they did a massive exercise in Guam and the surrounding area with F 35s, B 1s, B 2s, just all kinds of assets, and all 6 branches of the U.S. military were involved in this exercise. And there were also international partners involved in the exercise as well. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. And it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there. And Putin also threatened South Korea, warning them not to give Ukraine lethal weapons. He did this after South Korea said they would reconsider aid to Ukraine. South Korea's policy was not to give Ukraine lethal weapons, but now that Putin signed a mutual defense treaty with North Korea, South Korea then responded and said, okay, well, we're going to give Ukraine some lethal weapons and some high precision weapons. And then Putin got mad and threatened South Korea. And Putin signed a mutual defense treaty with Kim Jong-un, meaning if North Korea goes to war with South Korea, then Russia is going to help North Korea, just like they did in the Korean War. Okay, if you guys don't know anything about the Korean War, the Russians and the Chinese were literally fighting against America in Korea. Okay, there were Russian fighter pilots dogfighting with American fighter pilots over the Korean Peninsula for 3 years. Okay, so this is very, very serious, and North Korea has already tried to send their troops into South Korea several times. One time they accidentally stepped on a minefield and they got blown up, and the other times they were fired at by South Korea. They were given warning shots. So North Korea is clearly probing the border and probing and testing to see what South Korea is capable of. And there was a U.S. nuclear war command and control plane that was moved to Norway yesterday, a Boeing E-6 Mercury. And I'll explain to you why I think it was moved there. And the CIA is warning of a dangerously high threat of a major terror attack in New York City and other U.S. cities. And Belarus has launched a surprise inspection of military units, missile troops, tactical nuclear weapons, and air defenses for the first time this year. Okay, so this is huge news, guys. Okay, so I'm telling you, Putin is getting ready to nuke Ukraine. That's why he lowered his nuclear threshold. That's why Belarus is now doing this surprise inspection. That's why Russia did this tactical nuclear exercise, which involved the Leningrad military district, which spans the entire border of Finland and the Baltic countries. So get prepared, guys. But what you're looking at here is a picture of a Russian nuclear sub, and this thing launched cruise missiles in the Barents Sea on Wednesday. Now, if you remember, like a month ago, there was this NOTAM posted for the Barents Sea for missile launches, and then it was shortly canceled. Well, I think this is why. So, nuclear powered subs of Russia's Northern Fleet launched cruise missiles at sea targets as part of exercises in the Barents Sea, Russian news agencies reported on Wednesday, citing the fleet's news service. The nuclear submarine missile cruisers of Northern Fleet carried out practical missile firing at sea targets in the Barents Sea, the TASS news agency reported, citing the statement from the fleet. The Severodvinsk and the Orel nuclear-powered submarines fired Caliber and Granit cruise missiles a distance of about 106 miles at a target, simulating a detachment of landing ships of a mock enemy, the Interfax news agency reported. According to objective control data, the combat exercise was completed successfully, Interfax said, citing the fleet statement. The missile weapons used have once again confirmed their inherent characteristics and high reliability. So this could be why the nuclear war command and control plane was moved to Norway. There could be unusual presence of Russian subs there because something big is about to go down, and Russia may try to attack Norway and Scandinavia with their subs, with these cruise missiles. Okay, there's a lot of American bases and NATO bases in northern Scandinavia, and they would be perfect targets for these Russian nuclear subs hanging out just offshore in the Barents Sea. So I think that we're moving our subs to the region, and then as a result, we need at least one E6 over there to be able to communicate with our subs through the water, okay? Because remember, it's not like you can just pick up a cell phone and call somebody who's in a sub. They need to use VLF in order to be able to penetrate the ocean depths to reach the sub, okay? So this means that we are deploying subs into the Norwegian Sea, the Barents Sea, and it's just another sign that we're on the verge of war with Russia. 3 Nordic countries have agreed to create an Arctic military transport corridor for channeling personnel and equipment to Finland amid tensions with its neighbor Russia, Norway's prime minister said Thursday, hailed as an important milestone by Premier Jonas Gahr Store. It is the latest security maneuver following Finland and Sweden's recent accession to NATO. Russia has boosted its military presence in the Arctic region, and Finland and Sweden joined the alliance, citing regional security motives heightened by Moscow's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Today, we agreed to establish a military transport corridor through northern Norway, northern Sweden, and northern Finland, Store said in a statement following a meeting with his Swedish counterpart Ulf Kristersson and Finnish President Alexander Stubb. It will help ensure that personnel and material can be quickly moved from Norwegian ports through Sweden and to Finland, he added. So just another sign that NATO is preparing for war with Russia. They've created this transport corridor so they can move stuff from ports in northern Norway to Finland in case Finland gets attacked, okay? And the Israeli army wants to announce the end of the war in Gaza after the Rafah operation. And U.S. officials have serious concerns that in the event of a full-blown war between Israel and Hezbollah, the Iran-backed military group could overwhelm Israel's air defenses in the north, including the much-vaunted Iron Dome air defense system, 3 U.S. officials told CNN. The fears which the U.S. officials said have also been communicated to them by Israel that the Iron Dome could be vulnerable to Hezbollah's vast arsenal of missiles and drones are only rising as Israel has increasingly indicated to U.S. officials that it is preparing for a land and air incursion into Lebanon. Israeli officials have told the U.S. they are planning to shift resources from southern Gaza to northern Israel in preparation for a possible offensive against Hezbollah, U.S. officials told CNN on Wednesday. So this is huge news, guys. Okay, like I said before, I think that Israel is about to go into Lebanon. From what I heard, they were given a deadline of the 24th, so that's Monday. Okay, Israel gave Hezbollah a deadline. If you don't move your forces north of the Litani River by the 24th, we're going to go in. And from what I've heard is that the U.S. warned Hezbollah and Lebanon directly that the U.S. and international partners will help Israel in this operation. So it's not going to be like Gaza, where it's just Israel versus Hamas. When Israel goes into Lebanon, we're going to see the U.S. and international fighter jets launching massive airstrikes to neutralize Hezbollah's vast arsenal of artillery. They're going to have to take it all out. That's going to be the number one priority, is for them to destroy all of the artillery sites and missile sites so Hezbollah can't launch these attacks on northern Israel. It's coming, guys, and the U.S. will be involved, and it's going to be a massive operation. Okay, so get prepared because Iran has already threatened to directly attack Israel if that happens. All right. And South Korean forces along the border with North Korea have been ordered to a heightened state of readiness due to the possibility of North Korean provocation in response to the launch of several balloons last night by a North Korean defector group in the direction of the DMZ. The balloons are reported to have contained 300,000 anti-regime leaflets, 3,000 US dollars, as well as hundreds of flash drives filled with K-drama and K-pop. The last few times that balloons were launched by these groups, the North Koreans responded by launching balloons carrying garbage and feces at the capital city of Seoul. Okay, so things are really escalating there, and the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, feels like he's got big balls now because Putin is backing him up. And here we have video footage of the B-2s arriving in Guam. Look at that thing, guys. What a massive, beautiful, destructive plane. This plane can literally annihilate an entire country by itself. It can carry over a dozen 1 megaton bombs, okay? Nuclear bombs, over a dozen of them. And it can fly over a country totally undetected and drop those B-83 nuclear gravity bombs, which have a blast yield of 1.2 megatons, okay? So one of these B-2s could literally fly over Russia and totally annihilate every major city in Russia. In Western Russia, they could just fly over, one or two bombs on Moscow, one or two on St. Petersburg, one or two on Novosibirsk, one or two on Krasnoyarsk, and so on and so forth. Okay, and that's just one. All right, and we have 20 of these, and we're going to be building over 100 B-21 Raiders, which are going to be fully unmanned and controlled by AI, which is very scary. Okay, that kind of reminds me of the Terminator movies. But this is very serious, guys. If we're moving stealth bombers to Guam and the Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier, it means something big is about to go down. And the Russian Gazprom stock price is still at its lowest level in over 15 years since the 2008 financial collapse, global financial collapse. You can see right now it's at $115 per share. Okay, the lowest in 15 years, and it is not improving at all. Here's the last 5 days. You can see it's still continuing its downward trend. And here's just the last month, okay, just going down. So this could push Putin over the edge because Russia's oil and gas are their lifeblood for their war machine. Okay. If they're not making money on oil and gas, then they can't fund their war machine. Okay. Oil and gas is what keeps Russia's economy afloat. And it looks like they're having trouble there because of all the sanctions. We currently have two tropical systems with over a 50% chance of development that could affect the U.S. We have one off the coast of northern Florida with a 60% chance of development. It could develop into a tropical depression in the coming hours and days, and it could affect Georgia, South Carolina, and northern Florida. We also have this large disturbance in the Yucatan Peninsula with over a 60% chance of development, following in the footsteps of Tropical Storm Alberto, which dumped a bunch of rain on southern Texas. Here's the latest satellite imagery. You can see here this rotation off the coast of northern Florida and Georgia. So it looks like we're going to have our first tropical depression making landfall on the U.S. Okay, I told you guys this would happen. I told you that we are entering a strong La Nina, and we're going to have a lot of landfalling hurricanes along the eastern seaboard of the United States. But look at the size of this system here, guys. Look at all these clouds. This could turn into a monster storm because we have 85-degree Fahrenheit sea surface temperatures across the entire Gulf of Mexico, which is more than warm enough for tropical storms and hurricanes to develop. So we could even get a Category 1 hurricane out of this system once it gets over into the Gulf. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, but I'll be monitoring it for you guys, and I will keep you guys updated. And EU countries said today that they formally approved launching accession talks with Ukraine and Moldova starting next week, a landmark event for the two countries at the start of their long path towards joining the bloc. European Union ministers will start negotiations first with Ukraine and then with Moldova in Luxembourg on Tuesday. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky called the start of talks a historic step. Millions of Ukrainians and indeed generations of our people are realizing their European dream, the Ukrainian leader wrote on Twitter. Ukraine is returning to Europe, where it has belonged for centuries as a full-fledged member of the European community, he added. Ukraine, followed by its neighbor Moldova, lodged its application to join the 27-nation EU in the wake of Russia's 2022 invasion. So this could also motivate Putin to do something drastic as well. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when I post these updates. Also, follow me on Telegram and Twitter. I post all my updates over there, so you'll never miss an update if you follow me over there, and the links to my Telegram and Twitter are in the description below this video. And until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.